Since the pandemic began, most of us have been spending our time locked up and safe, or at least trying to be. But what cities ranked as being the worst for violent crime and disarray in this year? Well, there's no doubt that while most of us were stuck in quarantine, there were still places thriving with criminal activities and seedy neighborhoods throughout the country. As we begin this countdown, we're going to take a look at what cities are the most dangerous and why that is. So let's dive right into it and take a peek at the top 10 most dangerous ghettos in the US. There's several cities that do make our list, but it's no surprise to see that Detroit, Michigan is the first, whenever you consider that some of the statistics of the other metro areas in Michigan have also been in the news in recent years. It's kind of not shocking that the first city on our list is in the Great Lakes area. Detroit used to be a thriving metropolis, but in the past 20 years, it's kind of turned itself into a rapidly decaying urban nightmare. Detroit's violent crime rate is 2,007 incidents per 100,000 people, and since it is considered to be a middle-sized town with a population just shy of 675,000, it's kind of the only other city with a crime rate above 2,000. Sadly, not only do Detroit residents face a high crime rate, but 37% of the populace is living at or below the poverty line, making Detroit a very somber place to live. Now that we've taken a look at the first city, let's talk about the next notorious location on our list, Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, which is located in the western part of Tennessee, is by far one of the most dangerous cities in the United States. Citizens in Memphis face a 1 in 12 chance of being a victim of a violent crime in the city. And in addition to that, the poverty rate for children in the area sits at a whopping 35%, making it not only a dangerous place to live, but is the leading city in the volunteer state for impoverished conditions, as most families make an average income of less than $17,000 a year. The next city on our list does keep us in the South, but this time we're going to go to none other than Birmingham, Alabama. With a city population just shy of 215,000 residents, Birmingham's populace faces both harsh economic conditions and an astronomical crime rate. Citizens in Birmingham face a 1 in 53% chance of being the victim of a violent crime. Property crime rates, on the other hand, account for about 63% of the crime, making Birmingham safer than less than 1% of U.S. cities. And while Birmingham does have a rich history and is a beautiful warm city, it's interesting to see it take a place on the list over Atlanta for the first time, considering the history of crime and danger between both southern metropolises. Baltimore is an interesting place and does take us to our first East Coast city on the list. With a large population density that spans a vicinity of 92 miles, it's interesting to see that Baltimore's residents have a higher average income than the other cities on the list. The city's poverty rate is less than 25%, and the average income is closer to $75,000 a year, which does make it very different from other regions that hit this list. Another interesting thing about Baltimore is the chances of one faces of becoming a victim of either violent crime or property crime. A person has a 1 in 16 chance of becoming a victim of crime in Baltimore, and the city's crime rate sits at just under 65% per 1,000 residents, making Baltimore a very gloomy and scary place to live. St. Louis is one of two cities in Missouri that does grace our list today, with a poverty rate of approximately 22%, making it clear to see why there is a portion of the residents who face great economic turmoil. Not only that, but St. Louis is known for having a high chance of becoming a victim of violent and property crime that sits at 1 in 12 people. This means that for every 12 people you see in St. Louis, at least one of them is going to endure a horrific incident due to the crime rate in the city. With a populace of nearly 300,000 people, for every 1,000 crimes, at least 60 are homicides, and just under 95 of those are sexual assaults, making St. Louis an incredibly dangerous city to live in. Now, while the city may boast quite a bit of the arts front and some wonderful rich history, it would seem that St. Louis definitely has a sordid reputation where safety is concerned. The next city on our list also happens to be in none other than the Show Me State, yet again, Missouri. But this time though, we're going to go over to Kansas City. Located 3 hours to the east of St. Louis, Kansas City has a crime rate of 53 crimes per 1,000 residents, and one of the highest crime rates where citizens do have a risk of 1 in 19 of becoming a victim of violent or property crime. Not only that, but Kansas City also has a poverty rate of at least 16% and an average income level of $75,000 a year. It also has a high population density for its size at 319 miles with approximately 1,600 residents per square mile. This ends up making Kansas City both very dangerous and highly populated, while providing very few opportunities for economic advancement. Notoriously, Kansas City has risen and become well known for its criminal activity, and while Chicago didn't grace this list, it would seem that some of these cities present have long been known for having a reputation for being less than pleasant places to live. Cleveland, Ohio has long been considered an industrious city, but it does have a dark side full of violence. According to a recent report, violent crime in the city may have fallen overall, but there were still about 5,500 violent crimes reported in the last year. While it is good that property crime has decreased, it seems that violent crime has risen in both an increase of automobile theft and arson, which indicts Cleveland as still being quite a dangerous and, eventful place to live. Residents in Cleveland actually face a 30% poverty rate and 1 in 17 chance of being victimized, making it a very risky place to live. In the last year, Little Rock has also become a place that has grown exponentially where crime rates are concerned. Little Rock has seen a jump in crime reaching a 10-year historical high rate. Violent crime has risen to the point that Little Rock now has violent crimes nearly 300 times that of other U.S. cities of similar size and population density. The poverty rate in Little Rock now stands at about 16.5%, while the average income is at $85,000 a year, which makes it interesting as it seems that most of the residents experience fine living while still facing a 1 in 16 chance of enduring a violent or property crime. While it does seem that the income per capita may be higher, it doesn't appear that it makes much of a difference on one's chances of being victimized while being in Little Rock. Now, we're going to head to the north as we weigh in on the next city on our list, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Milwaukee spans over 97 miles and has a population density of about 6,000 people per square mile. The average household income is just under $60,000 a year, and residents face a poverty rate of just over 25%. The chances of becoming a victim of crime, either violent or non-violent, sits at 1 in 25, which is considerably lower than some of the other cities, but still high enough to be on the high alert when choosing to live or visit Milwaukee. The next place that we're going to visit is none other than the sunny and beautiful Golden State of California. But here, we're going to be traveling to the city of Stockton. In 2021, Stockton swole to the highest population density that it has yet to see in just under 315,000 people. The city spans 65 miles, and it now has a population density of just over 5,000 people per square mile. The poverty rate itself is just under 18%, and the average income is around $75,000 a year. But residents face a risk of 1 in 17 persons of becoming the victim of a crime. Violent crime does make up about 400 reports out of every 1,000 crimes, and property crime sits at about 600, making Stockton an incredibly dangerous place to live.